There is a forest not marked on any map. The trees grow too tall there, too thin. Their bark split like scars, their branches heavy with things no wind should move. Sometimes, they say, you'll find bones dangling like ornaments, little ones. The path winds where it shouldn't. It bends behind your back. And when you hear your name whispered, in a voice that sounds like your mother's breath and your own death rattle, do not turn around. If you do, she's already behind you. She doesn't live in a cottage. Not exactly. She lives in something that walks. A crooked house perched on two enormous bird legs, twisting and turning slowly in the snow. The windows flicker. The skulls on the fence glow like candle-lit eyes. Sometimes one of them weeps. They call her Baba Yaga. But she has other names, names no one speaks aloud anymore, not after dark. Some say she was once human. Others say she was never born, only dug up. She flies through the sky in a mortar, guiding herself with a broom made from hair. She grinds bone, brews shadow, and sleeps in a bed of memories that aren't hers. Her fingers are stained with ink and ash. Her teeth? Iron, not shaped like ours, more like nails, bent and jagged. You don't find her house, it finds you. It turns its front to you when it's ready, and when it does, you must speak. Turn your back to the forest, your front to me. Then the door appears, sometimes. Inside, she is always waiting, smiling, stirring, watching. They say she will feed you, if you're polite. She will help you, if you're worthy. She might even save you, if you understand what that word really means. But the bowl she offers may be carved from a skull. The stew inside might remember its name, and if you lie to her, she won't shout, she won't scream. She'll simply take your shadow and hang it on a nail beside the fire. This is not a bedtime story. This is a door, one that opens only once, one that breathes. This is the tale of the walking house, of the crone who listens through snow, of the witch who cannot die. This is Baba Yaga, and now she knows your name. They call her a witch, but witches have rules. Baba Yaga has none. She does not wear the pointed hat. She does not cackle over bubbling potions. She does not fly on a broom. She flies in one, and when she lands, the forest bows. When she stirs, the wind stills. She is not merely a character. She is a boundary between life and death, between the woods and the world, between what you are and what you might become. And when you ask, what is Baba Yaga? The trees do not answer, but the bones do. Baba Yaga's name drifts through the Slavic world like smoke, from Russia to Poland, Serbia to Ukraine, whispered by peasants and royalty alike. It appears in fairy tales, or skazki, passed from hearth to hearth in candlelight, usually followed by a warning or a hush. No one agrees on her form. Sometimes she has 3 sisters, all named Baba Yaga. Sometimes she rides with wolves, other times she is the wolf. But the stories always agree on one thing. She lives at the edge of the map, the edge of the woods, the edge of sense. Baba is familiar, a grandmother, a crone, a woman who has lived too long and seen too much. But Yaga, here the world splinters. In Old Church Slavonic, it may relate to the word for horror or illness. In Proto-Slavic, anger, disease, poison. In Sanskrit, Yaga can mean sacrifice. Others link it to Indo-European roots for pain, for fire, for serpents. Her very name is a curse cobbled together from fear, like she isn't meant to be understood, only avoided. In the West, Baba Yaga is often softened, illustrated in children's books with whimsical charm, a quirky old woman in a chicken-legged cottage who might be scary but is ultimately misunderstood. But those who grow up with her know better. In the Slavic world, she is not misunderstood, she is underestimated. Her stories are not told to entertain, they are told to remember, because Baba Yaga is not a villain, not exactly. She punishes cruelty, yes, but rewards boldness. She devours the arrogant, but she aids the pure of heart. Sometimes, she is not evil, she is indifferent, she is not kind, she is just, in a way that predates laws and gods. She is nature with a face, teeth, rot, frost, and the flicker of survival. In story after story, Baba Yaga does not seek the hero. They come to her, the orphan girl, the betrayed son, the lost child with a death in their pocket. They come to her hut, trembling, and speak the words, "Turn your back to the forest, your front to me." And the house turns. It does not open, it judges. Inside, she never welcomes. She never comforts. She never lies. She demands chores no mortal could finish. She asks questions with no right answer. She tests obedience, cleverness, humility, but also pride. She is the exam no one knows they've studied for, and if you fail, you become soup. If you pass, you leave with fire, with truth, with something you'll never be able to explain. In Vasilisa the Beautiful, Baba Yaga gives the young heroine a glowing skull that incinerates her cruel stepmother. In The Frog Princess, she offers advice to the prince. In The Maiden Tsar, she is a guardian of realms, offering magical horses, riddles, maps carved into bone. Each time she appears, she is less a character than a ritual in human form. But some stories hint at something older still, that Baba Yaga is not a witch at all, but the last embers of a forgotten god. Some folklorists trace her roots back through the tangled undergrowth of Indo-European religion, to Marana or Marzana, the Slavic goddess of winter and death, to Perchta, a Germanic figure who both gifts and guts children, to Hecate, Greek queen of crossroads and ghosts, even to Kali, Hindu destroyer and liberator. These are women who rule thresholds, who demand offerings, who hold both knife and key. Baba Yaga may once have sat on a throne of roots, a goddess of time, transformation, and wild balance, until the Christian world made her hide in the woods. They stripped her crown and gave her a pestle, but she remembers, and so do the woods. There is no tale in which Baba Yaga is tamed, no redemption arc, no tragic backstory, no softening. She is not misunderstood. She is feared because she is understood. She teaches that power does not apologize, that knowledge hurts, that some doors, once opened, do not close, and she lives in a house on legs because she moves, because she cannot be pinned down or labeled or mapped. She is becoming, always, and what she becomes depends on who dares to knock. Across cultures, figures like Baba Yaga appear again and again, the crone at the edge of the world, the gatekeeper with teeth, the woman who knows. They are feared because they speak truths the world tries to bury. They are mothers, but not the ones who soothe. They birth wisdom through agony. They cook strength in cauldrons of blood and time, and when they smile, it is never safe. So what is Baba Yaga? She is not one thing. She is every unspoken thing. She is the storm that tests your roof, the riddle that costs you your name, the punishment your ancestors earned. She is the part of the forest that does not want to be found, but waits nonetheless for you. You do not find Baba Yaga's house. It finds you, and when it does not knock. It turns. The tales say it stands on chicken legs, enormous, taloned yellowed limbs, crusted in mud and dried blood. The phrase sounds ridiculous when spoken aloud, like a child's drawing of something monstrous. But those who see it don't laugh. They go quiet, because it moves, and movement means will, intent. The house is alive, not simply magical, but sentient, curious, angry, hungry. Imagine the shape of it, a wooden hut warped by centuries of cold. The thatched roof sags, moss coils across the beams. The windows flicker, sometimes from candlelight, sometimes from something else. It squats at the center of a clearing, but never for long. The moment you look away, it has shifted slightly. When you look back, it may be closer, or taller, or facing you. The legs twitch, the claws sink into the earth. It scratches, like a hen over seeds. But the sound is deeper, heavier. It echoes through the trees like thunder behind skin. They say the legs are from a giant jarptitsa, a firebird older than storms. Others say they're not bird legs at all, just shaped that way. And what's beneath the hut is older than feathers. You don't want to be under it when it moves. Some say it steps through time. Others say it crushes the years beneath its claws. Surrounding the hut is a fence, but not of wood. It's made of bones. Skulls, in fact. Human, glowing faintly, like embers, with memory. Each one mounted on a stake, their jaws frozen in silent screams. Some are cracked, some are whole. All are watching. This is not decoration, it is warning, because Baba Yaga keeps what is hers, and when something is not hers, she takes it anyway. Some skulls belong to the disobedient, some to the forgetful, some to those who simply asked the wrong question. But every so often, a traveler returns from her hut and claims, "One skull weeps." No one agrees which one. No one wants to find out. The house does not walk in a straight line. That would imply destination. It pivots, slow and deliberate, like a beast stretching before it feeds. It spins in place, its legs clawing soft circles into the snow or soil. The turning is a ritual, a rotation that carves space into something liminal. Some say it turns to face its next victim. Others say it turns its back to hide a door. But one thing is agreed: if it turns to face you fully, windows forward, chimney like a neck, you are invited. And that is far worse than being rejected. There is only one way to make the house see you, one phrase. Turn your back to the forest, your front to me. These words are not merely invitation, they are command, a spell, a test, a riddle whispered backward. It is not clear who first spoke them. Perhaps a witch, perhaps a mother warning her child, perhaps Baba Yaga herself, smiling from behind her iron teeth. But say the words aloud, slowly, reverently, and the house turns. Say them with arrogance, and it will turn the other way. Say them with fear, and it may not turn at all. When the door appears, it looks ordinary. That's how it fools you. But once you step inside, the house stretches. The ceilings rise too high. The floorboards creak in a language not heard in centuries. The walls are lined with bones, not human, not animal, both. Candles burn upside down. Mirrors reflect faces that are not yours. And in the corner, always watching, a mortar and pestle the size of a bathtub. Baba Yaga sleeps in a cupboard. Sometimes. Other times, she is the cupboard. One room holds nothing but hair. Another, keys. None of them open anything in the house, except maybe your memory. The fireplace smolders even when cold. The oven is large enough for two, and on the table is always food. Do not eat it, unless she offers. Then you must eat. All of it. The house is not a destination. It is a threshold, a ritual gate in wooden form. Across myth and folklore, liminal spaces appear again and again. Crossroads, doorways, mirrors, forest edges, the moment between sleep and wake. Baba Yaga's house is all of these, at once. When you step across her threshold, the forest behind you is never the same. Sometimes it's gone, sometimes it's watching. And if you return, if you're allowed to return, you will not remember the path. Only the sound of wood creaking, of claws dragging, of a house that walked just close enough to see you. But why legs? Why a house that walks instead of floats or flies or hides? In part, it's fear. Nothing unsettles like the familiar made mobile. A house is meant to protect. When it wanders, it betrays. But deeper still, the walking house is sovereign. It needs no land, no road, no master. It goes where it wants. It leaves when it's bored. It is self-contained myth. It is story on stilts. It is your childhood nightmare made real, a place that sees you, judges you, and walks away if you're not interesting enough. The walking house is freedom, and also doom. It is a symbol that cannot be colonized. It mocks borders, it mocks rules, it knows things, and it remembers the sound of your feet as you approached. In Slavic oral tradition, tales of Baba Yaga's house are always shifting because the house itself does. In some stories, it appears as a trap, a test. In others, it appears as a reward. Sometimes it is the only place of truth in a world of lies, and always it is turning. There is no once upon a time, only a spin, and then another. Some say the house spins so that it does not age, that its motion is a form of timelessness, that if it ever stopped, the woods around it would crumble, and memory with them. Others say it spins to stir the world, to wake something buried, to remind us that home is never safe. Not really. Here's the part no one wants to admit. We are all afraid of Baba Yaga's house, because we've all felt it move. It's the cold wind when your back is turned. the wrong door creaking open, the place you thought you remembered, but don't. The house that walks is the thing you trusted. Shelter, structure, permanence, turning away from you. It is betrayal in beams. It is memory with legs. It is the knowledge that no place is ever still, and that some places never wanted you there to begin with. No one leaves Baba Yaga's house unchanged, but to leave at all, you must first pass her trials, and they are never what they seem. In the old tales, the visitor is often a girl. She is young, poor, alone, sometimes orphaned, sometimes cast out. She steps into the hut with trembling limbs, hoping for help, and finds something far worse. Baba Yaga, sitting by the oven, stirring something thick and black. She does not ask what the girl wants. She already knows. Instead, she gives her a task. Clean my hut until it sings. Sort this pile of poppy seeds from ash by dawn. Fetch me fire from the skull that glows in the forest. If the girl protests, she is eaten. If she succeeds, she is rewarded. But only if she asks for nothing in return. The chores Baba Yaga gives are impossible on their face. No one can separate grain from dust with their hands. No one can carry fire in bare palms. No one can make a house sing. And yet, in the stories, the girl succeeds. Because she is kind. Because she helps the mice. Because she gives her last crust of bread to the hungry crow. Because she does not crush the beetle crawling across her foot. These are not tasks of strength. They are tests of soul. Baba Yaga does not measure skill. She measures grace under terror. In these tales, help often comes from animals. A mouse that whispers how to sort seeds quickly. A cat that tells her which cupboard holds the broom. A dog who blocks the witch from devouring her before dawn. These creatures speak not in words, but in presence. They help without asking, but only if you helped them first. That is the secret to surviving Baba Yaga's hut. Compassion is currency. Kindness is key. Those who give with nothing left to offer are the only ones worthy of reward. And what of those who are cruel? The jealous stepsister, the greedy merchant's son, the trickster who tries to outsmart the crone. They are not tested, they are devoured. Their bones become fence posts. Their skulls glow like warnings. Their stories end with a burp. Baba Yaga is not evil, but she does not forgive. Let's look deeper. These tasks, separating the poppy seeds, fetching fire, sweeping without stirring dust, they all sound mundane, but their allegory, mirrors. Sorting poppy seeds is the act of choosing the essential from the wasted, the living from the dead. It is discernment. Carrying fire without burning is courage without recklessness, wisdom under wrath. Sweeping without stirring dust is self-mastery. Doing the work without ego, leaving no trace of your pride, and making the hut sing, that's transformation. That's harmony between fear and grace. You're not just cleaning her house, you're cleaning yourself. One tale tells of Vasilisa the Beautiful, a girl sent by her cruel stepmother to fetch fire from Baba Yaga. She arrives, she bows, she is given a task, and each night a rider passes the hut. The white rider at dawn, the red rider at noon, the black rider at night. These are time, riding its horses around her soul. Vasilisa completes every task. She is kind to the cat, to the dog, to the gate itself, and in the end, Baba Yaga gives her a skull lantern filled with fire. But the fire does not burn Vasilisa. It burns her wicked stepmother and stepsisters to ash. Justice carried like a gift, truth held in the hands of the gentle. That is the reward. In the house, Baba Yaga offers food. You must eat. But not everything, never everything. This is another test, one of desire, one of balance. Greedy guests are gorged, then gutted. Polite guests nibble, sip, leave something behind. And those who refuse altogether? They are ungrateful and unworthy. The stew may taste of childhood, or ash, or something you once loved but forgot. And sometimes when you lift the spoon, the stew looks back. Baba Yaga does not prize obedience, nor flattery, nor strength. What she admires is wit under pressure, endurance with grace, and respect without servility. She is the embodiment of a world that owes you nothing, and yet demands everything. To survive her hut is to understand that life itself is not fair, but kindness still matters. That's the paradox she guards. If you pass her tests, Baba Yaga sometimes offers a gift, but it is never what you expect. She might give you a skull that glows, a cloak woven from silence, a horse that walks through dreams. She never explains how it works. She simply gives it, and you must understand its value when the time comes. This is the last trial. Can you hold a gift without needing to understand it? Those who can survive. Those who can't become another tale in her bones. There is a point where the trees grow too close, where the light no longer filters through, where the paths double back and the moss covers your own footprints, where time slows, not because it stops, but because it begins to listen. That place is the veil, the edge of the world you think you know, the border between the waking and the waiting. It is where Baba Yaga lives, but more than that, it is where she waits. Before the forest was a place, it was a presence. Before the birds sang names, there were only sounds. Before we carved maps into bark, there was only the hum of root and stone and blood. The Slavic forests were not merely wilderness, they were alive, and not kindly. They had moods, they had memory. They bore witness to slaughter, to betrayal, to prayer, and remembered none of it fondly. Every tree was once a watcher, every shadow once had a name. We simply forgot how to hear them. In the vale, there are trails that do not lead anywhere. Until they do, there are streams that run uphill when you're not looking. There are birds that mimic your voice perfectly, even after you've gone silent. The forest is not hostile. Worse, it is indifferent. The deeper you go, the more you forget the warmth of sky. The more your heartbeat starts to match the drip of sap, the rustle of unseen limbs. Many walk in looking for something. Fewer walk out. Those who do aren't quite the same. They speak softer, flinch at firelight, and sometimes, only sometimes, they smell of ash and old leaves. People say Baba Yaga's hut wanders the forest, but what if the truth is stranger? What if she is the forest? What if every tree is a finger, every crow a thought, every fog-wrapped root a strand of her ancient tangled hair? She does not live in the forest, she becomes it. There are no borders in her world, no beginning or end, only branches, only breath, only the quiet scrape of bone across bark. The vale is filled with lights. They flicker through the fog, blue, pale, golden. They hover above still water. They whisper. These are the bloody, wandering lights, sometimes kind, mostly not. They lure the lost deeper. They speak with the voices of loved ones. They promise warmth or shelter or memory. Follow them, and you may find something, but it won't be what you hoped. You may come to a clearing where everything is wrong, your childhood bedroom grown over with moss, your mother's voice coming from a hollow tree, a mirror showing a version of you that never left. This is not dream. This is not death. This is the forest mirroring you back. There are wolves in the forest, not the kind you know. These wolves wear no fur. They do not growl. They do not hunt in packs. They watch. And when you forget yourself, your name, your face, your path, they feed. Some say they are failed travelers. Others say they are Baba Yaga's first children, creatures born when she tried to make humans out of shadow and mud and rage. You cannot run from them. You cannot beg. You can only pretend you are more forest than flesh, and hope they believe it. In the deepest parts of the woods, the air thickens, not with fog, but with thread, glistening, silver black, too uniform to be natural, too old to be new. These webs do not catch flies. They catch time. Step through one, and you may emerge a day older, or 10 years younger, or not at all. Some say the webbed places are Baba Yaga's traps. Others say they are her memories, knots in the fabric of what once was. If you find yourself in such a place, stop. Speak aloud the name of the forest, not your forest, Heron, and wait to be unknotted. If you speak wrong, you will be part of the weave forever. They say that in the deepest glades there are shrines, not built by hands, grown, arranged by root and stone and bone, with offerings placed gently, reverently. by animals, a wolf's jawbone, a braid of human hair, a child's shoe filled with teeth. These shrines breathe, they exhale mist, they hum in tones your bones recognize. If you kneel before one, do not pray. Listen, you might hear your name, you might hear your future, or you might hear nothing and know you've been forgotten. In the deep woods, everything pretends to be something else. A rock hums beneath your feet, a stream hisses your name, a fallen log glistens with dew until it bleeds. They say the log once had a face, that it swallowed a man whole, digesting him slowly through bark and rot. Now it waits, fleshless, silent, patient. Some who sit upon it feel warmth, others piercing cold. A rare few see visions, a child walking into fire, a woman offering her hair to a tree, a mirror, broken, yet still reflecting something behind you. You never touch the log twice. At the forest's center, where no path reaches, a black root coils through the earth like a serpent in sleep. It pulses, faintly. Some say it's the umbilical cord of the first mother. Others say it is Baba Yaga's heart, buried when she chose to live without one. No one knows what happens if you cut it, but they say those who sleep near it dream of faces, not human, not beast. Eyes too wide, mouths stitched shut, hands made of fog. These dreams never leave. Some have clawed out their own eyes to unsee them. Others return to the root and ask for more. The forest does not judge, it only deepens. There is a lake so still it reflects not the sky but the soul. Its surface is darker than ink. If you gaze long enough, you don't see yourself. You see the version of you that stayed, the coward, the traitor, the liar, the lover who ran, the child who hid, the mother who turned away. It is not punishment, it is truth. Some throw stones, some kneel, some wade in and vanish, and sometimes when the lake is quiet again, a new reflection appears. Not yours, not anyone's, just Baba Yaga stirring the sky with her long bone spoon. Throughout the vale, there are fires, but they do not burn, they do not flicker, they do not offer heat, they hover, still, suspended like memories. Some say these are regrets, moments never acted upon, words never spoken. Others say they are promises broken by the dead. When you walk through the forest and see a fire that casts no shadow, don't speak. If you do, you will finish the sentence they left behind, and your tongue may never be your own again. In certain clearings, children once heard laughter. They followed it because it sounded like their own. The echo-faced ones are not spirits. They are reflections left behind by those who died in the forest. Not ghosts, not alive, just left. They imitate the living to draw them in, and once close enough, they whisper things. You're not really lost. You were meant to stay. She said your name before she died. You've always been mine. Some return to the village with their face slightly off, a smile too wide, a laugh that ends too soon, a heartbeat that skips in the moonlight. Others don't return at all. Near the western edge of the vale stands a tree with no leaves. Its trunk is covered in carvings, eyes, lips, open mouths. They shift when you're not looking. Some say the tree is Baba Yaga's diary. Others say it is her sister, trapped in bark for an ancient betrayal. If you touch the tree, you see a memory, but not your own. You might see a peasant girl entering a hut made of feathers, a soldier kissing his knife before walking into the woods, a baby made of straw and breath, laid at the root of an altar. You will never forget what you see, and sometimes you'll dream it again, but longer, and the next time you'll be inside the memory. In the vale, you are never alone, even when you should be. Footsteps echo behind you, but never match your own pace. Sometimes too fast, sometimes one beat late, sometimes crawling. When you stop, they stop. When you breathe, they breathe. When you speak, they listen. They do not belong to anything living. They do not leave prints. They simply exist to remind you. You are not welcome here. And finally, there is the circle. A perfect ring of mushrooms, bones, and black feathers. No matter how you approach, it's always facing you. If you step inside it, the forest holds its breath. Nothing moves, nothing stirs. Even Baba Yaga waits. Inside, there is no sound, no wind, no breath, no thought. Just one question, asked not in words, but in feeling. Do you belong here? If you lie, the ring closes. If you're silent, it waits. If you answer truthfully, with all the fear and sorrow and flame in your chest, the ring opens and you see her, not the crone, not the witch, not the nightmare, but the one beneath it all, the forest mother, the truth that devours and protects in the same breath. And if she lets you go, you leave different, marked, watched, and never quite whole again. You don't find Baba Yaga by chance. You don't stumble into her hut while gathering mushrooms. You don't trip over a chicken's footprint and wake up in her domain. Number if you find her, she meant for you to. And once you're inside her crooked house, with the fire low and the walls creaking with breath, you will be given a task. Always, without fail. The nature of the task will be unlike anything you expected. And failure is not death. It's transformation. Because in Baba Yaga's world, the question is never, can you do it? It is, what will this demand of your soul? You sit before her. The cauldron steams. The skulls grin. She does not greet you. Instead, she throws a sack at your feet. Sort these, she says. Inside, 1,000 seeds. Identical in size. Different only in origin. Poppy, flax, poison, ash. Some are not seeds at all, just things that pretend to be. She gives you no bowl, no light, no hint. She leaves the room, and you must sort them before the fire dies. Not because she told you, but because you feel it. If the fire goes out, so do you. Some weep, some scream, some sit paralyzed, thinking this is the test. Endurance, patience, waiting, they fail. But the clever child? She speaks to the mice nesting in the corner. She offers them crumbs from her pocket if they help. And when Baba Yaga returns, the task is done. She never asks how, only watches, with that long, silent smile. She doesn't care if you followed instructions. She cares if you understood the lesson. You are never alone in her house, and nothing is what it seems. The hut is cold, bone-aching cold, breath-cracking cold. The fire has gone out. She places an iron poker in your hand. She gestures to the hearth. You want warmth? She hisses. Then take it. You reach toward the logs, but they are already smoldering. Not with flame, with memory. They burn with things you've forgotten. Your first broken promise. The time you looked away. The moment you lied to someone who loved you. You must take the poker and stir the fire. To do so is to face it, to watch what burns, and to know that it was always there. Those who cannot bear to look away, who turn from the flame, are swallowed by it. They become coals, new logs, new memories for someone else to find. Only those who watch every moment and do not flinch emerge with the fire reborn. Baba Yaga says nothing, but in the shadows, something claps. A mirror is placed before you, but it does not reflect your face. It shows something else, a future version of you. Not cruel, not kind, just true. The version of you that made the choice you most fear, the path you refused to take, the temptation you almost yielded to. You must speak to it. Ask it one question. It will answer, but with a twist. Its words will be inverted, a truth inside a lie, wrapped in metaphor, dipped in venom. You must interpret the answer before dawn. If you misread it, you are not punished, not immediately. Instead, the mirror shatters, and every shard embeds itself inside your thoughts. For the rest of your life, you will doubt your every decision. You will hear your reflection's voice in silence. You will never again be certain of who you are. Only those who recognize the truth in contradiction, who see themselves as both monster and martyr, leave the mirror whole. You are told to prepare a meal, but not for Baba Yaga. She brings you a guest. They do not speak. They do not move. Their face is veiled. You must feed them, clothe them, tend to their wounds, if any. And you must do so without asking a single question. The room watches, the walls press in. If you slip, just once, and ask, "Who are you?" their veil drops, and beneath it is your own face, rotten, cracked, whispering, I was you before you came here. Those who scream are swallowed by the house. Those who bow, who accept the guest as they are given a bowl of broth, a nap beside the hearth, and a night of dreamless sleep. It is the only kindness in the whole hut. There is a door in the hut that does not open, not unless she wills it. But sometimes, when you've passed a trial, when the air is heavy, when the shadows whisper your name, the door creaks open. Inside is a room covered in webs, not dust, not silk, memory, strands that shimmer with moments you have forgotten or wished to. Every thread leads to a choice you made and didn't understand. You are told to walk through it without breaking a single strand. Each strand that snaps returns a memory too fast, too bright, too loud. Your father's back as he left, the face of the one you never apologized to, the sound of your voice when you betrayed someone. Break too many and you collapse, overwhelmed, a puppet with severed strings. Those who make it through without snapping a thread emerge trembling, but clear-eyed. They remember everything and still choose to go on. That is the mark of worth. Sometimes she gives a knife, not silver, not bone, just a plain iron blade, and she says, "Go into the woods, find your heart, and bury it beneath the tree that speaks your name." You are given no map, only a whisper. You'll know it when you see it, and you do, eventually. A tree with your posture, your eyes, your scars. It creaks in a voice you remember from childhood. It will beg, it will weep, it will accuse you. But you must cut out your heart, your real one, and bury it beneath its roots. Those who do become light. Not empty, light, as if a weight they never knew they carried has fallen away. Those who hesitate, who fake the ritual or pretend, are bound to the tree forever. Their voices join its bark. Their eyes peer through leaves. Their hearts hang from branches like overripe fruit. Some say these trees form a grove, a cathedral of cowards, a warning for all who come next. At the end, if there is an end, she gives one last test. She will sit, her eyes closed, the cauldron still, the skulls silent, and she will ask a question. It is always different, always perfect. It might be, what would you steal if no one would ever know? Whose death did you dream of as a child? What do you fear becoming? Who did you leave behind, and why? You must answer, truthfully, without flinching, not because she can tell, but because you can. The room listens, the air shifts, and then she either says, "You may leave," or "You may stay." Neither is a reward, neither is a punishment, only a sentence, passed down by the oldest judge in the world. If you leave the hut, you do not return home the same. Sometimes your hair is white. Sometimes your shadow moves a beat too late. Sometimes animals stare at you like they know something. You might gain nothing, no treasure, no spell, no wish. Only this: a piece of you was scraped clean. Another piece grew in its place. You will see the world differently. Some things will feel smaller, others impossibly large. And the woods, you won't return. Not because you're afraid, but because you understand. She gave you a piece of herself, and that's enough. In the stories, they come without warning. No hoofbeats, no neighs, no sound of bridle or bell, only light and then dark and something in between. They are called riders, but they are not men. They are events. They are turnings. They are the clock Baba Yaga uses to mark the passing of something older than time. And if you see them ride past her house, don't wave, don't speak, don't count your breaths, because one of them might stop and ask you what you're doing so far from home. And the moment you answer, you are already a part of their journey. He arrives first, the white rider. He does not walk. He breaks dawn. The trees lean toward him as if thirsty for light. The mist withdraws. The crows hush. His horse glows not golden but bleached, the color of bone, of fresh scars, of milk spilled across cold stone. And the rider, he wears armor that hums with light. Not sunlight, not firelight. Something colder, more remote, the color of things long erased. He does not carry a sword. He carries a staff. At its tip, a sunburst, carved from ash and bone. He touches nothing, and everything bows. Children who see him do not cry. They go still. Then when he's gone, they weep for reasons they do not understand. The white rider brings beginning, but not birth. He brings potential, and potential is the most terrifying thing of all. Then comes the Red Rider. He does not follow. He arrives, like a sudden wound, like the taste of copper in your mouth after lightning strikes nearby. The sky doesn't change, but the shadows do. His horse is the color of old brick, of war drums, of dried berries hanging in midwinter. The rider wears no armor, only tatters, but his hands are stained, his boots caked in dust, his teeth red, not from wine, from memory. He carries a sword, long, curved, chipped. It hums when he rides, like a song you forgot you hated. He does not look at you, he looks through you, and you realize he doesn't see what you are. He sees what you might become when pushed hard enough. The Red Rider is midday. He is choice. He is consequence. He is the one that waits on the hill when you think you've escaped. He is not death, but he knows its name. And then, always last, comes the Black Rider. He doesn't ride. He drags. The ground smokes where his horse treads. Not fire, not frost, something in between. The hooves leave no print, but the grass dies anyway. His horse does not breathe, its eyes are closed, yet it moves. And the rider, he wears a cloak of hair, human, long, black as pitch, but shimmering with the faces of the forgotten. He carries nothing, but his shadow is full of blades. When he passes, the crows return, but they are silent, and they look away. Even Baba Yaga bows her head, because the Black Rider is not an ending. He is not finality. He is the memory of what ended before. He is what you tried to bury, and what still knocks from beneath the coffin lid. They are not servants, not demons, not illusions. They are temporal phantoms, spirits of the cycles Baba Yaga governs but does not control. She calls them by color, but their names are older than Slavic breath, older than dust, older than gods. She does not summon them. They come when something must change, and when they ride together, when white, red, and black thunder past the hut, their motions perfectly spaced, their eyes unblinking. It means someone inside has made a choice, and the forest is preparing to answer. Few are granted an audience with the three, even fewer survive it with their minds intact. But there are stories, old ones, whispered at the edge of dreams, of a girl who saw them fully. Not a child, not a warrior, just a servant. She came to Baba Yaga's hut asking not for magic or vengeance, but for knowledge. Why do things begin? She asked. Why do they break? Why do they end? Baba Yaga stirred her cauldron and nodded. She did not answer. She simply opened the window, and the riders came. When he passed, the girl saw her first breath, the pain of it, the sharpness of air that had never known lungs. She saw the beginning of the world, not as light or fire, but as hunger, an ache in the silence. She saw the forging of names, the first betrayal, the first hope, and behind all of it, the White Rider carving lines into the void, not with cruelty, not with love, with necessity. She blinked, and he was gone, but her bones remembered. They ached in ways no doctor could soothe, as if they had been used to build something. The next to arrive brought not vision, but weight. The air thickened, the fire coughed, the mice scattered. The Red Rider did not look at her. He handed her a blade, no words, no gesture, just the weight. And she understood. She was being asked, "What would you cut to keep yourself whole?" The blade shook in her hand. She thought of the people she envied, the voice that had mocked her, the regret she wore like skin. Each could be severed, each demanded sacrifice. She turned the blade on herself, not to end, to carve away. Her pride, her fear, her imagined righteousness. She bled and wept. And the Red Rider rode on. The last brought no light at all, only silence, the kind that feels intentional, like a held breath in a room full of grief. He stopped in front of her, and she saw herself, not as she was, as she would be, alone, ashen, smiling, in a house where the walls whispered and the fire never died. And the girl understood. She would become something like Baba Yaga, not now, not soon, but eventually. The path was already beneath her feet. And the Black Rider had come not to warn her, but to welcome her. She awoke 3 days later, in the hut, alone. Baba Yaga was gone. The fire had burned low, but in her palm was a mark. 3 lines, white, red, black, intertwined. Not a curse, not a blessing, a map. Because the riders aren't just watchers, they are parts of you. The White Rider is your beginning, the desire that pulls you from bed when you no longer care. The Red Rider is your struggle, the fight inside your ribs, the war between want and need. The Black Rider is your memory, the echo of your own footsteps in a house you thought abandoned. And Baba Yaga, she does not command them, she teaches you to see them. There is a tale buried deeper than most, told not in firelight but in shadows. It does not begin in a village or a storm or a scream. It begins with a door that did not exist until the moment she knocked. She was not running, she was not lost, she was curious. And that, as Baba Yaga well knows, is more dangerous than fear. The trees let her pass. The mist made no move to stop her. Even the hut seemed to wait. And when the girl reached the clearing, when the door creaked open by no hand at all, when the skulls on the fence grinned with hollow welcome, she stepped inside. No invitation, no bargain, just fate. And the hut closed behind her like a secret being swallowed. They say Baba Yaga eats children, and she does, but not the way you think. Some are devoured whole, in flesh and bone. Some are cooked slowly, fed lies until they taste of guilt. Some are trapped in mirrors, forever watching, never aging. But one girl, she was not eaten, she was kept. No name, no parents, no past. Baba Yaga called her nothing, sometimes you, and once, daughter. But that was never said again. The girl cleaned bones, fetched water that screamed when touched, washed jars filled with teeth that still chattered. The hut groaned when she slept, whistled when she forgot her chores, sang lullabies made of wind and old regrets. She never left, not because she couldn't, because she didn't want to. The first lesson was not in books. There were no books, only whispers carved into wood, only dreams that stung like bee venom, only riddles told by disembodied mouths sealed in clay jars. But the first rule, the one every witch must learn, was this: magic is not power, magic is debt. Every spell is a borrowed truth, every potion a delayed lie, every blessing a curse that hasn't bloomed yet. The girl asked once, "Who do we borrow it from?" Baba Yaga smiled and fed the fire something that screamed in relief. The girl never wove cloth, she wove names, unspoken, half-remembered, dangerous. She never fetched firewood, she gathered sighs trapped in thorns. She never learned to read. The house read her. It told her what it wanted in creaks and drips and the gnashing of the window panes. Once, she swept the floor and found a shadow that didn't belong to anything. She asked what to do with it. Baba Yaga said, "Bury it, under your tongue." The girl did, and for 3 days, she spoke only lies. They tasted sweet, too sweet. One day, the girl opened a door that hadn't been there the day before. Behind it, there were mirrors. Not 2, not 3, but hundreds, lining the walls, the floor, even the ceiling. All angled so that no matter where she looked, she saw herself. Except, they weren't her. One version blinked too slowly. One smiled when she didn't. One wore a crown of thorns that twisted when she breathed. She backed away. The door was gone. Baba Yaga's voice echoed without echo. "Those are who you could be, or who you might have been. Don't stare too long. They get hungry." She never went back. But sometimes, at night, she would dream of herself, smiling with someone else's teeth. The hut had many shelves. Each shelf had many jars. Some were filled with dried herbs, others with knotted hair. One held nothing but the smell of rain. But one jar rattled. It had a tooth inside, just one, old, yellowed, slightly cracked. And it spoke. Only at night, only in rhymes, only when the fire burned blue. Its voice was high and distant, like something buried far too long. The girl asked what it was. Baba Yaga said, "That is a lie I could never finish telling." Then she handed it to the girl. told her to feed it a secret every night, and so she did. She whispered forgotten lullabies, her hatred of the color green, and once, that she dreamed of flying without wings. The tooth clicked, hummed, and one night, it laughed. That was the first time the girl felt afraid of something inside the hut. There was no lesson plan, no chalkboard, no cauldron marked beginner, only a task: boil the wind that makes wolves weep. The girl asked how. Baba Yaga smirked. You'll know it when it scratches your window. So the girl waited, for hours, then days, then a night when the wind came howling, not outside the window, but inside her bones. She held out her hands. The wind came to her, snarling and warm. She led it to a black pot and whispered, "I'm not your enemy." It hissed, then curled like smoke, and boiled. The room filled with the scent of pine, blood, and childhood forgotten. Baba Yaga nodded once. "Good. Now drink it." The girl did. And for 3 nights, she dreamed of being a wolf. When she awoke, her nails were sharp, her hearing too good, and a single white hair had grown behind her ear. She never told Baba Yaga, but she never stopped dreaming of running. One morning, the girl found a chicken wandering the hut. It had 3 eyes, its feathers shimmered like coal, and when she reached for it, it spoke. "You're not ready." She froze. The chicken nodded. "Not ready to choose, but you will." It hopped up onto a skull shelf and vanished. She searched the hut for hours, asked the fire, asked the bones, asked Baba Yaga. The witch only chuckled. Some truths walk on clawed feet, leave them be. But the girl kept listening, and sometimes she heard the chicken's voice in the wind, saying strange things. Don't name what you love. Never kiss anything that's crying. If your shadow laughs, run. It came on a cold night, the kind where the stars seemed too sharp. The girl was tending the jars when she heard a voice from outside, a child's voice, calling her name. Not nothing, not you, but a name she had never told anyone, a name from before the hut. She froze, turned. The door was cracked open. Baba Yaga was gone. The forest glowed silver, and just beyond the clearing stood a boy, pale, barefoot, crying. He whispered, "Please, help me. I'm lost." The girl stepped forward. The wind didn't stop her. The fence of skulls made no sound. She reached the boy, touched his hand, and the world shuddered. He vanished. The clearing twisted, and from behind her, Baba Yaga spoke. "Very good." The girl turned, horrified. "It was a test," the witch nodded, "and you failed beautifully." Then she handed her a knife. "Next time, don't touch. Cut." The girl took the knife and noticed it was already wet. One morning, the fire spoke. It did not crackle. It spoke, not in words, but in reminders. The sound of a lullaby the girl never knew she'd forgotten. The scent of bread, burnt at the edges. The warmth of a mother's lap, before it vanished. She fell to her knees. The fire flared, blue and gold, licking the ceiling. Baba Yaga didn't interfere. She only watched, one hand on the hearthstone, the other tracing a circle in ash. Then she said, "Memories are dangerous fuel. You can burn the world with them, or just yourself." The girl didn't answer. The fire whispered, "Do you remember who you were?" She wanted to. She almost did. But the name caught in her throat like a bone. It came in a dream, or maybe the dream came from it. She stood before a mirror, not in the room of many, just one. Its frame was thorns, its surface was still. She looked in, saw a girl in white, standing in a field of crosses. Then the girl blinked, and the reflection did not. Instead, it spoke. "You are not real." The girl tried to back away, but her feet were rooted. "You are what was left behind when someone else escaped." The glass rippled. She went back, and you stayed. The reflection raised a hand, inside the palm, a key. Then the mirror shattered, and she woke up screaming. Baba Yaga was already there, holding something behind her back. "You saw her, didn't you?" The girl nodded. "What did she offer?" "Nothing." Baba Yaga smiled, but there was no joy in it. That's the most dangerous thing of all. The web beneath the floorboards. Some nights, the hut creaked in strange ways, too rhythmic, too deliberate. The girl once lifted a loose board. Beneath it, webs, but no spiders. Instead, the webs pulsed, like veins. Like a nervous system the hut had grown over centuries. She leaned in, listened, and the webs sang, not songs, memories. She heard a girl's laughter, a scream in a language she didn't know, a lullaby sung by someone with no tongue. The webs tightened. She dropped the board. From the hearth, Baba Yaga's voice came low. Don't listen to what the house remembers. It forgets the parts that should stay dead. The girl didn't sleep that night, but the house did, and it dreamed loudly. It began with a smell, rose water and rot. A traveler had come, a seeker. He stood outside the skull fence, eyes wide, voice cracking. Please, they told me you can help. I'll give anything. Baba Yaga sighed. They always say that. But the girl watched him. There was something in his eyes, a hunger, a sadness, a mirror. She waited until night, crept past the bones, opened the door. He was still there, shivering, weeping. She led him in, gave him soup, told him nothing. When Baba Yaga awoke, she didn't yell. She sat, watched the man, watched the girl, then asked, "Did he promise you a name?" The girl hesitated. That was enough. The man vanished, turned to steam. The room filled with the scent of rosewater. Baba Yaga touched the girl's cheek. If someone offers you what you've lost, they're probably the one who took it. Then she opened a jar. Inside, a small flicker of light, a memory. The girl stared. Her knees buckled. She saw her mother, her real mother, eyes wide, mouth open, falling into something dark. Then the lid closed. Baba Yaga said nothing more, and neither did the girl. There came a night with no moon, no stars, no time. The house closed its eyes, and Baba Yaga said, "Tonight, you choose." She placed 2 items on the table, a knife of bone, a ring of ash. One will make you forget everything, the other will make you remember too much. The girl asked which was which. Baba Yaga shrugged. What kind of witch asks questions she doesn't answer herself? The girl reached for the knife, then paused, took the ring instead, slid it on. The room twisted, the ceiling became sky, the floor, a field of teeth, and somewhere, in a cradle made of roots, a baby began to cry. She opened her mouth, screamed with 3 voices, then everything went still, and Baba Yaga whispered, "Well, that settles it." The girl opened her eyes and saw the truth, not who she was, but what she would become. It began at dawn, but not with birdsong, or wind, or fire, just silence. The skulls stopped glowing, the bones stopped twitching, even the chicken-legged hut stopped breathing. The girl woke up already standing. Baba Yaga was not in her chair. She wasn't stirring the cauldron, wasn't sleeping in the loft, wasn't whispering to the spiders beneath the floorboards. She was gone. No note, no curse, no goodbye, just the scent of smoke, and a word carved into the door frame, letters raw, fresh, bleeding. Your turn. The third and final betrayal. The girl waited. She fed the fire. She whispered to the teeth in jars. She swept the shadows into neat piles. Days passed, then weeks, or maybe none at all. Time bends inside the hut. One night, something knocked, not on the door, on the roof. She stepped outside. A figure stood atop the hut, eyes black, smile sharp. She didn't recognize the face, but she knew what it was. A hunter, come to steal magic, to trap her in a story that ends with fire and pitchforks. He raised a hand, spoke a name, her true name, the one she'd buried under years of forgetting. And suddenly, the hut moved. With a screech of wood and bone, it stood tall. And for the first time, she was the one who commanded it. The legs twitched, bent, unfolded. The hut rose high above the trees. The forest watched. The trees remembered. And the girl, no longer a girl, not quite a witch, not yet a god, looked down at the hunter and laughed, not cruelly, not kindly, just inevitably. She whispered 3 words into the wind, The hunter's shadow peeled off his feet, ran screaming into the woods, and was never seen again. The man fell to his knees, tried to speak, but his mouth filled with feathers, and when he turned to run, the hut danced, 1 step, 2, crushing him beneath claws older than time. She didn't flinch. The hut settled. The forest was silent again, and from somewhere behind her, a voice said, "That's how you know you've grown up, when you stop flinching." She turned, but Baba Yaga was not there, just her shadow, smiling. In the center of the hut stood a clock, made entirely of bones. Its hands were fingers, its numbers, teeth, its chimes, laughter. She had never seen it move, until that night. The fingers twitched, the teeth clicked, and the whole room echoed with a slow, deliberate tolling. 1, 2, 3. Each chime brought a memory, a voice calling her real name, a lullaby unfinished, a promise whispered in the womb, "You are not like them." When the clock struck 12, the bones fell silent, and the girl, no longer nameless, picked up the jawbone that had fallen from the hour hand. She hung it above the fireplace. It smiled. One day, the hut walked, not because it had to, because she willed it. It stepped over rivers, through war zones, past cities of glass and steel. Wherever it went, people saw it, but no one remembered. They would speak of strange dreams, of creaking wood outside their windows, of skulls grinning at the edge of their vision. But no one could find it, except those who were supposed to, and when they did, they were asked a question, not by the girl, by the hut. The question was always different, always personal, and if they answered wrong, the door never opened. But if they answered right, they came inside and never left the same. Years passed, or moments. Time does not measure witches. One day she returned to the mirror room. Only 3 mirrors remained. One showed a girl, still innocent, still waiting for a mother who never returned. One showed a crone, eyes empty, hands stained with ash. And one showed her, as she truly was, not the witch, not the child, not the monster, just a woman, whole, terrible, free. She reached out, touched the glass, and for the first time the reflection stepped into her, not out. Now the forest knows her name. The trees whisper it to the wind, the skulls chant it in lullabies, the bones beneath the dirt hum with it, but no one else remembers. Only the hut, only the house that walks and waits and watches, for a child with no name, for a girl too curious, for a seeker too proud. And when that door opens, when the floorboards sigh, when the shadows grin, there she will be, not Baba Yaga, but something just as old, and far, far more dangerous. Every forest dies. Some are burned, some are cleared, some simply forget how to grow, but there are others, darker ones, that never truly live. They pulse with stories, with superstitions. They are remembered not because they exist, but because they refuse to stop existing. The forest of Baba Yaga is one of these. Cartographers omit it, kings avoid it, even satellites refuse to find it. But it's there, it's always there, and sometimes it moves. The 17th century brought science. Scribes turned to scholars, myths to manuscripts. Magic was dissected, named, disproven. One scholar, a man named Fedorovich, attempted the impossible. He sought to categorize Baba Yaga. He labeled her an archetype, cited her as evidence of pre-Christian goddess worship, filed her under witch mother hag triads. He thought it was finished until he found the ink bleeding, not metaphorically, physically. The letters curled off the page, pooled into shapes, then voices, then screams. By the time the other monks found him, Fedorovich had written 76 pages of gibberish, all in a language he never learned, a language older than Slavic. The last thing he wrote on the final page was, "She remembered me." The monks burned the papers, but the ash wouldn't scatter, it just sank into the floor. In 1821, a small theatre troupe in Prague performed a banned script, The Witch in the Wood. It was a comedy, supposedly, a parody of old Slavic folklore. The Baba Yaga was played by a man in a dress. People laughed, until she laughed back. On the third night, something changed. The stage glowed, the props began to rot, and the actor playing Baba Yaga, Marko Wojtik, vanished mid-monologue. Gone. No trapdoor, no wires, just a burst of smoke. The audience thought it was brilliant, until the scent hit them. It wasn't smoke, it was bone marrow. When they pulled the curtain back, they found one thing: a cauldron, still warm, still steaming, filled with teeth. No one ever staged the play again. But the script? It still appears sometimes, in bookstores, on trains, on your shelf, though you never remember buying it. In 1933, a photographer named Anya Solovey wandered into the Urals. She was searching for remnants of pagan shrines. She found something else. The picture was simple: a hut, crooked, perched on stilts, mist in the background, a figure, small, cloaked, in the doorway. She developed it, but every time she looked, the figure was closer. After a week, it was at the foot of her bed in the photo. After 2 weeks, it had left the frame. She burned the photo, but her mirror kept showing it, and every night she swore she could hear the clacking of chicken legs on stone. Her last note, found beside a cracked lens: if she steps into your photo, she never steps out. The candle in the wall. They say there's a house in Belarus, old, abandoned, rotting, but every night a light burns in one of its windows. Children dare each other to knock. They say if you enter, you'll find a candle that never goes out, and beneath it, a journal, bound in skin, inked in soot. Only one word appears in it, but that word changes depending on who reads it. Some see the name of their first love, others the name of a dead sibling. One saw a word they hadn't heard since they were 4, the name of the voice that whispered in their cradle, the one who rocked them to sleep when their parents weren't home, the one with iron teeth. The page always tears itself out when you leave, and if you burn it, your dreams go with it. In 1968, a train left Minsk. It never reached its destination. They searched for months. Eventually, they found the engine, intact, no damage, no derailment. But every passenger was gone. In their place, bundles of sticks wrapped in children's clothes, a trail of bones leading into the forest, and inside the conductor's cabin, a loaf of bread, a bottle of kvass, and a skull with glowing eyes. One investigator claimed the skull spoke, but only once. She needed them. The hut was hungry. He was dismissed, later institutionalized. He spent his days drawing spirals on the walls and whispering, "It walks, it walks, it walks." By the late 20th century, Baba Yaga was marketable. She became a Halloween mask, a cartoon villain, a punchline. But something strange happened. She started appearing in new stories, ones she was never part of. In Ghana, a girl swears she met her in a mango grove. In Chile, a shepherd claims the old woman in his dreams taught him to boil bones for prophecy. In Japan, a teenager posted a creepypasta about a house on claws in Aokigahara. They called her different things, but the description was always the same: iron teeth, long nose, bone spoon, glowing skulls, a door that asks questions. It was as if the myth had uncoiled itself from Slavic soil and gone global, like the hut had decided it no longer needed one forest. The whole world would do just fine. In 1992, a Russian late-night broadcast aired an old folktale segment. The program was called Stary Korny, Old Roots. Nothing remarkable, just a narrator in a wood-paneled studio reading from old Slavic myths. That night, he read about Baba Yaga, except halfway through, something changed. He stopped reading, his mouth moved, but the words weren't Russian. They weren't any language at all. The audio distorted. The footage flickered. For 11 seconds, the screen went black, except for a shape. A hut, silhouetted against static, turning slowly on bird-like legs. Then the feed returned. The narrator was gone. His chair was empty. All that remained was a cold teacup, still steaming. Viewers described hearing scratching behind their televisions that night. Some claimed the sockets smelled faintly of smoke and feathers. The episode was never re-aired, but someone keeps uploading it. Every time it's taken down, it comes back. The title always the same: She's Still Walking. A family in Gdansk moved into a house in 2003. It was old, lovely, full of history, the kind with creaky floors and charming imperfections. They began renovations. Behind a faded floral wallpaper in the daughter's room, they found a mural, a hut in the woods, skulls glowing. A girl, eyes wide, peeking out the door. They assumed it was art, until the girl, their girl, started humming songs they'd never taught her. She spoke words that weren't Polish, and she began asking for bone broth, even though she hated soup. One night, the father peeled the last section of wallpaper. Behind it was the girl, not a painting, a photograph, same pose, same dress, only now she was smiling. When they checked her bedroom, she was gone, but the painting had changed. The door to the hut was closed, the chimney smoked, and in the bottom corner of the wall was a new image, a chicken foot, mid-step. The path that wasn't there. In a village near the Carpathians, hikers sometimes report a trail that doesn't exist on any map. It appears only when the fog is thick enough to choke on. It smells like burnt bread and pine sap. If you follow it, they say you'll hear music, bones clicking, a woman humming, a lullaby no mother should ever sing. At the end of the trail, they say, there's a house, crooked, tall, perched on claws. If you knock, you'll hear a voice ask, do you come by need or by hunger? Only one hiker returned. He wouldn't speak for days. When he finally did, he whispered this. She didn't ask my name. She told it to me. He never hiked again. But every now and then, neighbors catch him outside at dawn, leaving small bowls of stew at the edge of the woods. He refuses to explain why. A woman in Helsinki missed a call one night in 2011. Unknown number, no message at first. Then her voicemail glitched. She found a recording that hadn't been there hours earlier. Static, then the sound of wind, then a voice, gravelly, low, familiar. It whispered only one word, remember. She didn't sleep that night. At dawn, she walked into the forest behind her childhood home. She hadn't been there in decades, but her feet knew the path. She didn't come back. They found her phone, still recording, her last words barely audible. The door opened. I remembered. Too late. A librarian in Bucharest discovered an untitled book one morning on her desk. It wasn't in the catalogue. It had no barcode, no author. Its pages were stitched, not bound. The cover was soft. Too soft. She opened it. Inside were stories, folk tales, curses, recipes. She flipped to the last page. It was blank until she touched it. Then words began to appear, but they weren't written. They were spoken. A voice only she could hear. It told her a tale of a girl with no name, of a mother with iron teeth, of a house that walked. She tried to close the book, but it refused. Each time she turned a page, her hair grayed. By the time she finished it, she was 42 years older. The book was gone, but her daughter found a note tucked into the desk drawer. I fed it stories. Now it feeds me. In Kiev, a group of school children were caught digging a hole during recess. They said they heard a sound beneath the sandbox. One claimed it was a woman's voice whispering riddles. Another said it was clucking. The hole was shallow, but at the bottom was something else, a spoon made of bone. When teachers tried to confiscate it, it vanished. The children grew restless. They stopped eating. They began drawing huts on everything, walls, desks, skin. One child disappeared. A week later, they found her in the school basement, unharmed, unconscious, clutching an egg in her hands. When she woke, she said nothing, but she drew a picture. A woman with a nose like a dagger and hair made of smoke. Beneath it, she wrote in crayon. She said, I passed the test. No one knows what the test was. The egg never cracked, but it still feels warm. In the outskirts of Novgorod, an old man made clocks. None of them ticked. They didn't have hands, or gears, or faces, but they were loud. Each one whispered. Tiny voices, stories, secrets. He said they were powered by stories that had nowhere else to go. One day a girl asked to apprentice with him. She wore red boots, smelled faintly of ash. She never blinked. He taught her nothing, yet she built a perfect clock on her first day. When he asked where she learned, she smiled. The house taught me. He didn't ask which house. He didn't have to. In every culture there is a rule. The supernatural must be invited in. Vampires need permission. Demons need a door. Ghosts knock, waiting. But Baba Yaga does not knock. She does not ask. She does not plead. She waits. And when you're alone, when your breath fogs the mirror and the walls feel too close, she does not come through the door. The door comes through you. The reflection you don't own. In 2017, an American backpacker stayed in a Romanian hostel. She posted a picture on Instagram, a mirror selfie. Just her, smiling. The next day, the photo changed. She was gone. In her place, an old woman stood with her back to the glass. She wore a shawl. Her fingers were long. On her shoulder, a black crow. She tried to delete the post. It re-uploaded itself. Different caption. She sees you. She smashed the mirror in the hostel bathroom. The next morning, every mirror in the building had hairline cracks, and every crack formed the same shape. Claws. A package arrived in New York. No return address. Inside, a doll made of sticks, hair and teeth. No note. It was displayed in a curiosity shop. For weeks, no one touched it, until a child asked who the old lady in the ceiling was. They checked the cameras. For 4 nights, a silhouette had appeared in the top corner of the frame. Upside down, still, watching. They threw the doll out. The garbage truck never picked it up. And every night since, customers report a new sound. A knocking from inside the display case. The song that doesn't end. A podcast episode in 2020 claimed to debut a newly discovered Slavic lullaby. It was beautiful, haunting, melancholic, low hums, bone chimes, a voice like rust and honey. Listeners loved it until they realized something. It never stopped playing, even after the podcast ended, even after their phone turned off, even after deleting the app. Some said it came from their closets, others from the pipes. One man said it played from the roots of a tree outside his window, and always, just before the lullaby faded, a whisper. "Are you tired, little bird?" In 2021, a solar eclipse passed over parts of Eastern Europe. It lasted 7 minutes, but in one village, it lasted 13. During that window, 11 children vanished. Only one returned. He couldn't speak, but he drew. A hut on chicken legs, a spoon made of bone, and a woman with no face. When asked who she was, he wrote, "The mother of stories." They tried to bring in a psychologist. The child bit him, then whispered, "She says you've taken too many tales. It's her turn now." In 2022, a group of urban explorers posted a TikTok of a road in Belarus, a paved street that abruptly ends in a dense, old-growth forest. The only thing ahead, a red stop sign, brand new, pristine. They ignored it, walked on. Their feed live-streamed as they laughed, joked, explored. Then static. When the feed resumed, only one remained, screaming, alone. Behind him, a faint outline of a moving roof and eyes in the trees. The last frame before the feed cut, a single skull, glowing, perched on a spike, a name in your hand. People report writing things they don't remember. One woman found a name etched into her skin after sleep. Another, a message scrawled into fogged glass. "The chicken legs walk for me." One man claimed to see ink run from his books, collecting on the table to form an image, a crooked house, a smiling mouth. Then it dried, and nothing he's written since has been his. He doesn't write at all anymore. His pen moves on its own. It only writes 2 words now, over and over. She's coming. The compass with no North A geologist dropped her compass near the Black Sea. When she picked it up, the needle didn't point north, it pointed down. Later, in camp, she noticed something strange. All her equipment drained, all batteries dead, all sound muffled. She recorded audio. When she played it back, her own voice whispered from the tape, "It's under us now." Some say Baba Yaga is not a witch, not anymore. She is the shape all stories take when we ignore them too long, when we scoff at old fears, when we flatten myth into meme, when we turn folklore into franchise. She waits, not in the woods, not in the wind, but in the spaces between memory and dismissal, a force that speaks only when we stop listening. When we say, "That's just a tale," she answers, "Then let me tell it again." The story ends where it always does, in the forest, in fog, with footprints that look like roots and roots that look like claws. They say the house moves, not quickly, not often, but always. They say if you look closely, you'll see where it stepped, a clearing that never grows back, a cottage that never decays, but is always old. Sometimes it walks to find children, sometimes it walks to find the ones they've become, but most often, it walks because it's hungry, not for flesh, but for stories, forgotten ones, lost ones, half-remembered tales whispered between mothers and sons in candlelight. Every step the house takes is the cracking of a forgotten bedtime story. In a valley no map names, there is a village where no one is born and no one dies. The people do not age, they do not speak of the past, they do not leave. Every night they light lanterns on the ground, not to see, but to be seen. Their houses are round, their doors always facing the same direction, northeast, toward the woods. When asked why, the villagers only say, in case she returns. At the village edge is a stone with no writing, only a carved spiral. If you place your ear to it, you'll hear breathing. Some say it's the earth, some say it's the house, some say it's the witch sleeping below, dreaming of chicken legs and crows, waiting. A scholar once followed the legend too far. He mapped every story, cross-referenced every version, chased every footnote. He began seeing patterns. Every version of Baba Yaga ended differently, but each had one scene in common: a bird watching from the trees, sometimes a crow, sometimes a stork, once even a nightjar with burning eyes. He became obsessed with the bird. He stopped eating. He wrote in the margins of his books, "The bird knows." One day, he found a feather in his tea, black, twisted. The next morning, he was gone, his apartment filled with feathers, and on his desk, one phrase scribbled 1,000 times: "I saw the house move." You, watching this, yes, you, have followed the trail. You've walked past the skulls, heard the lullabies, stared into mirrors a little too long, and now something stirs. Maybe you've dreamed of creaking wood. Maybe you've seen footprints where there should be none. Maybe, just maybe, you've caught a flash of yellow light in the trees. You may ask, was she ever real? And she may answer, I've never stopped being. Because Baba Yaga is not just a witch. She is not just a tale. She is what lives when the story is over. She is the breath between chapters, the shadow in the corner of the page, the mother of all endings, and endings, as we know, always find their way back.